This is Mark. I'm going to start at Mark chapter 4:35 and probably get into chapter 5. This is part 6, and what I want to mention real quickly is that whatever I said in the last ending of the last video, and I had made a mistake about thinking it was one story about Jesus going to be gliding over the water, while this was the one on the return to the other side. So I want to just let you know that kind of forget everything I said. I'm going to start here and see if I can start with the text uh, that I really should have started a new video with anyway. And what it is this word here I added and this word here I added. I know I've got them gray, but that was just notes to myself. Okay, what we had was Jesus telling them, let us go to the other side of the lake, Lake Galilee. Okay, and let me bring up the other side of Lake Galilee so we know now what we're talking about, or at least I do this time. And that's, they're going to leave from this city here to go to this city over here, okay? And what happens here, is that they left the crowd and they took a boat. Okay. Now, the words here are the boats that are here. This is pretty important because when I go and later and tell you that there actually two boats, this is going to be why. I do not believe 13 males can get into a fishing boat. These boats that we're using were to use for fishing or quick recreation boats to go out and go swimming or whatever. You got to remember, this is Lake Galilee. It has a shoreline, but there's no sandbar or anything that they can land that they would. I mean, this Lake Galilee goes down quite a bit before you find any surface that might be flat. So they wouldn't be going down hundreds of feet of water to go swimming. So the boats, when you're looking at what logically are the boats out there, they're fishing boats. It's a way of life. Sure, the rich would have had some recreational boats out there, but how big would they have been? So this word boats, I'm saying they might have taken two boats, two small fishing boats to get across to where they're going to go. Now, just keep that in mind. There rose a strong wind, not a fierce wind, but a strong wind. And I was explaining that on a lake that's more than a mile long, even a small wind, depending on what direction it's come from, by the other side, that mile, those can be very much whitecaps. How big a whitecaps depends on then knowing that the size of the boat, if you don't keep the point of the boat into the whitecaps, the boat will go sideways and start rocking back and forth. And you cannot, especially if it's even a strong wind, you cannot turn that boat around it back into the waves. You're pretty much helpless. That's what makes the sea so dangerous, is that they had to keep the point of the boat going into the storm, even when the storm was out there. So it's very important for people to understand that when it says the waves were breaking over their boat, this also means that if the nose is going down, up and down, it has to come in over the top. So now the boat is telling us, by breaking over the boat, means that there was a surface area at the very front of the boat that was like a like where you would set or something, but it was hardened. There was no water going through. So when it was breaking over, it hit it, and then the water would splash on both sides. But now it was coming into the boat. So because if the wave was coming up over the boat, it would be just dumping in more water. This would be a safety feature on the boat. So now we have an understanding of how the boats were made. So when I'm talking about how much or how many men can get into these boats, fishing boats, most likely all these boats would experience high wind or wind picking up in the middle of the day when they're out there fishing, that they would need to have that surface or that front point have, I don't know what it's called, but I'm just saying it's like a cap, and then there would be like a piece of wood to make the wood or water shed, that when it did, it would shed to both sides. So it's very descriptive of what the boat they're using and the type of boats that they would have used at that time. I'm sure when people are reading a boat, they're just kind of like, okay, it's a boat. You need to understand as much logic as we can get out of a sentence what the boat really looked like. And the boat was taking on water. Now it was already filling up, but it was taking on water. But he was by the stern asleep, so this would have been an open area. And now they're talking that there's this flat area in the back, but he was asleep. So now we have the width of the back of the boat being wide enough, not for a male to lay out all the way. I don't want that to be there, but could be able to be curled up and to be back there and could fall asleep. So, and they woke him and said, do you not, they wouldn't call him a teacher, okay? They would have known that who Jesus is by now, because they might even said king. They woke him and said, do you not care that we are going to not perish, but die? I could have put drowned here. That means they knew none of them could swim more than a couple miles. So, but perish means to die. Could I use the word drown, or that we are going to drown? Yes, I could have. Maybe that's more of a correct word. I'll just let it note that I might be changing the word boats here and the word die later. Then Jesus rebuked the wind and lake and said to the lake, hush, be still. No. If he just told the wind to die down, be still, and the wind died down, and the lake to become calm, that takes quite a while for those waves to slow down. So I'm making sure that Jesus commanded the wind and the lake, the wind and the lake to be still, and the wind died and the lake became calm, okay? Because when you have still here, you have to have calm here. Now, is it flat like glass? No. It's calm enough for safety to happen, to feel safe and secure. Then he asked him, why were you fearful? Here, it's so timid. Now, the thing here is about when I'm trying to put this situation to you and keep telling you, this is the return home. So the disciples haven't been sent out yet. So they would have been, they're coming across here where the wind was to a people. So he had not given him his authority to do anything. because um, it's kind of like if you're see, he's talking about how is it that you have how is it that you have no faith. Now, what does faith have to do with drowning? Okay. The question is not really, excuse me a second. The question here isn't really of faith. So it can't be timid and this can't be truth. So what I have to do is put, why are you fearful? Have you no faith in yourself? Now, this is, now it becomes, um, the fearfulness question comes up to about their faith, that why would our creator kill you uh, i- out there on the water? Because they are with their king. They know their king has to, they should know that their king has got to get to Jerusalem. So they should know that they were going to make it through. Um, so why were you fearful? That's why did they wake him up? Well, the water was taken on the boat, so yeah, they were worried. But why were you? Should I put the word worry here? Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at that later. Why were you worried? Later, I've got to make a decision on that. But that cleans up this, so it's not that you don't have any faith. It's you have you no faith in yourself. Like I was saying, like you're gonna make it with me. So they said, but they were thinking already to one another, even in the wind and the lake obey him. Um, so this is, I've already spake to this point about Jesus having this extra authority over things after our Creator has anointed him. And he did that at the baptism. He anointed him. Um, so now, as they came, as they landed on the other side of the lake, and this is, they say country, but it's an area. And here's the problem: um, is it the right city? And here you can say that this is not the right city. Okay, they came over here. This is the city. Okay, so this text needs to be changed. So I'm just going to leave it as a green or red right now to make sure that that's corrected later. I guess I could put, let me see if I can read it that small over there on the other screen. This ARET. I'm thinking that's the word. Let me just do a couple of them and put it this. Okay, we'll do it right now. And put the right city in. And then it kind of immediately the mail from their tombs. unclean demons came to him. He was living back. Now, see, there are two stories in the four Gospels, and this is confusing the path of which way they were going. This story is saying that they went from here to that city that they would have had. I know there's another city that they've got marked over on the land here that pretty much is probably spelled the same. But the object is when you clean all the text up, Jesus did this path to come here, because otherwise when you read the stories, that he's going to be with the tombs, and this is what's going to happen here next up on the text, that he's over here now, and yet the story was they had to be leaving here, because I was telling you that the story of him gliding on the water is this one here, and the second story has to be him returning. They both can't be coming over to this one area because there's no story of them coming back. You have to make one of those two stories. He's returning. And that's what is happening to the text that isn't being made clear here. So what they're saying is on the way there, this is what happened. It's not Jesus being gliding over the water. So I made the call that it's returning. So here, this story here, well, see, if I name it the other city, that's just wrong. What happens is that this story is not going to be true, okay? It's going to get thrown out later, because the story of demons, Jesus met a male who had a legion of demons, and he's going to get rid of them. Now, I think that's going to come up in the story. Yeah, because here the story is starting to talk about return us to the abyss. So the thing here is yes, then it's going to be the swine here. So there's two stories of this meeting of this man, and what they've done is put both they either have Jesus gliding on the water, or he just fell asleep and needed to wake up. Now we know for the story of gliding on the water, he had to tell him to get into the boat and go. So this is what I'm saying. You have to make a decision on the stories itself, which one is making sense of what's going on. You have to have one getting there and then having one come back. I can't. All I can do is show you that they're the stories, but that there's these. But that's because I'm using all four Gospels. If I'm saying this story here, I'm going to try to make this story as truthful as possible here. Maybe I shouldn't have changed the name here, okay? And I should have just left it back at I should have left it just at this red here. Okay, that's what I should have done. And yeah, I think that's the best to say it. What's going to happen, because as you already know, what's confusing is this story up here. But if you know the other story, which everybody really pays attention to and knows that Jesus sent them and then he was gliding over the water, other people will also know the story of him telling Peter asked him to let him come out on the water too. So this story is this is not, Luke is not mentioning, or this is Mark. Mark is not listing or saying that story. So this is the story that's given here, and it's the one that's going to be thrown out, but we're going to try to clean it up anyway. Immediately mail from their graveyard. So that means, when they got to the other side, and I have by a city into the country of this. They're naming this here as the country of whatever, of the Garcinians or whatever. Garcins. This was, anyway. I'm not very good at pronouncing words if you've been with me, so laugh all you want. Yeah, I guess this is just gonna go here, and because I'm gonna try to tell you that the graveyard has to be near the water for this text to happen here. When they implore him go to the abyss, and then grazing by the hills, he sent them goats, and then the goats rushed down to the lake and drowned. So yes, okay, now we got the same story that we know of, but that we know mixed with another beginning. Okay, wow. And immediately a male from their graveyard. So what let's just say that yes, over here, and this is the correct city. And what you're seeing here, the land structure, when it says where these hills are at, where the swine are grazing, which is absolutely a lie. You can't herd swine or pigs or hogs. They just, look. They when they bite, they can snap your arm right off. They bite right through bones. I mean, they got some strong jaws on them. So don't tell me that there's swines out there that they're hurting. They'll just eat the damn dog. So, but this is the city I'm going to say that they went to, because like I said before, these are words that came up from our creators' hidden formats, and that is in my website. I advise you to read it because that's more truthful than this, whatever I'm doing here. But I just know that we're going to be talking about over here, and that there are the shoreline. Then we got to have them be grazing on the land, but I think it's just going to be down by the lake, not up on the hills. But because there's no, see how far away this is before it's saying any land structures coming up upon them. So the thing here is this is a quarter of a mile in. So was it that far in there, into what's going on? Possibly. But they had to be near enough to the lake to have them run into the lake and drown. So now that you know what's coming up, let me continue here. They weren't. There was a graveyard, not tombs. There is a video below describing what tombs are, and tombs means it's a place where they're laying bodies on. A tomb is the place the bodies laid on, and when there's many of them, you call these the tombs, okay? But it wasn't. It was the graveyard. And he had in a graveyard with demons, met him, not unclean spirits, met him. And not dwelling there, he was living by the tombs. So here I've got to correct and use the word graveyard here. Graveyard here. Now, whoops, maybe I don't. Let me get. You have to have like a graveyard, and they would have one of these tombs by it, if that's true, because that has to be on the side of a hill. So, well, but if it's just the graveyard that he's hanging around, I'm just trying to mentally put together how far this place is of the land, because when you blow up and look at maps, I know this is a overall, so there could be small little hills in here, but it has to be close to the water. The tombs they may have to be into the side of a hill. So he was living by the tombs because if nobody's there, it's a place for shelter. So I'm going to leave the word tombs, that he was able to go in and live in a sheltered area. So, okay. And they don't, this is just talking about how you break up the shackles and stuff off his body, and it's just not needed. It's just extra text that's not needed to complete the story. So get rid of that. Night and day. Well, we know night and daylight. I've been over why I do that. There's no night and day. A day is night and daylight combined. Night and day he was in the graveyard and on the hills. And out of the hills he'd cry out and gash himself with stones. Okay. And he ran up and bowed down before Jesus, not just him, but who? Jesus. And with a loud voice, he asked him, he didn't say, because it's a question, what? So I better have a question mark here. I think, I'm not sure if that can have it. What do we have to do with you? Or son from, yeah, I guess put question mark there. And it would be we, not I, because he has demons. Let's see, up here was unclean spirits. It has the S. It has an S on the end. So he has many demons. So it's we have to do with you, their son from YV, not Most High. We we implore you. That boy, that word there is, I should, I'm going to highlight that color. That word's got to be changed. Do not torment us to the abyss. Do that. we implore you, do not torment us. Okay. When Jesus was casting out demons, where were they going? They were returning into the abyss. So it's not like I'm adding the words us to the abyss for no reason at all. That's where they were going. So the thing here is they came from the abyss. I think it was in Matthew that Jesus was explaining where demons went to, and then they would return if they continued not to obey our Creator. They would return. So the abyss is where they were going. In the description below, there's a video that I'm very proud to say that you can actually, this is repeatable proof that males 13 years old and up can do to have a witnessing of the abyss, and they have a soul, and when they visit the abyss, that they can talk with these demons or these beings that have left the earth, died, and are living in the abyss. That's very important. That makes me different than everybody. So if you think I'm just some idiot here talking, you do that. That's altogether new, okay, to this world. So, anyways, they're going to be returned to the abyss. Do not torment us. Jesus was casting them away back into the abyss. So, to make it truthful. And here, Jesus got only one spirit, and yet I just showed you that it was spirits before. So this just doesn't need to be said, because if he says to come out of that male, well, it should have happened, come out. But here he asked them, not asked them after they came out. So this verse is just not correct. To put it in order. He asked them, what are you called? And they said, Legion. So now you know that when I'm adding the word we here, let's see, we here, do not torment us. This is goes to the point that now we have that truthful, that they are a legion of demons. For we are many, okay? And they begged him, not entreated, begged is easier. And they can't they're all in unison when they're talking, so they began, doesn't need to be added. But that's another one of these words that should have been like that they had added. They begged him not to send them, out of the country, out of the country. He was sending them out into the abyss again. They weren't supposed to be roaming around going into other people. He was casting them from them. This word should be, I pushed a button on my iPad because power was going down. I use this here as a way to help pick out different scenes. So when it's just something that's all done by touch. And when you see me pause, I'll just look down and hit the pause button and brings up another screen. It's really, really helpful, and probably the best $12 I've spent ever on a computer, this program to do this. And they weren't swine, okay? Swine, pigs, whatever you want to call them. You cannot herd them. Their jaws are so powerful that they they get a hold of a man's hand or arm, it's just gonna bite and it's gonna that's it. It's broke off right through the bones. So don't tell me that you can herd swines. The word is goats. When everybody that I hear tell me about this story, I used to bring that up and they just look at me. I says, yeah, you guys got been lied to. Tell me the word goats is better than it is swine. And I said, then yes, they could be grazing. So the thing here is they weren't feeding, they were grazing by the hills. But I added the word hills because later it was hills. But anyways, don't be so stupid to say that they're goats. I mean, they're pigs that you you go talk to a farmer, okay? Go look up on the line, see how pigs are really, or hogs are really not controllable. When they want to do something, they do something. That's why those pins are great big logs or, or high voltage wires around them. So, and here again, I'm sure this here is not needed. So they asked him to go into the goats, and Jesus gave his permission, and the demons, not unclean spirits, demons entered the goats, and they rushed into the lake. See, I'm already getting rid of some of this that they're on a hill. Yeah, they rushed into the lake because down doesn't need to be. See how it says a steep bank? Anyways, into the lake. Now they're telling us how many. There's 2,000 of them. No, we don't need a number on them. We just know that there was a herd. A herd can be 20, 30. That's fine. That's awfully large. To have 2,000, you've got to have a lot of herders and a lot of animals or dogs to be able to control that many. So, and the herdsman ran and reported this in their city. So now when you've seen the city that I was saying off the side, so the land that was on this area for this to happen, we now know that the city was up farther, or village or whatever here, is, is a little farther away. And then the people came to see him. I'm going to quit here because I know if I get going, I want to make sure I complete the story that's being told. Here, I know it's fully not completed. Right now, it's going to start another story of what they reported and what the people that came out to see him for. But anyways, I guess I don't see what it is that happened. Okay, this is just what it is that had happened. I can get rid of that and it's going to read a lot better. And the word country, again, they called them regions because they're controlled by governors. If it was a country, it would have to be a kingdom owned by a kingdom or a king, and we know that Rome owned all of it. Okay,